Welcome one, welcome all. Another CIRF report, this one for May 21st through May 27th. So we're getting towards the end of May 2020. And boy, there is a lot of energy still out there. And this one should be really exciting to the QAnons. It has everything to do with what's going on underneath the radar and what we hope to be happening with the dark turning into the light. This is the CIRF report for you. Again, what we're looking for is the influence. I'm going to help you triangulate what it is the main influences are, and we're going to use astrology, the Dreambot, and the I-Ching to triangulate. This is our triangulation slide. And so this little portion right in here is where the main influence is. Then from there, we are going to triangulate for the solution. It's one thing to know what the influence is. It's another thing to know how to surf that. So how to surf it means that you can really accentuate those energies or you can go against it. We would like to kind of go with it. So jujitsu-ish instead of karate, going against the energy. We want to go with the energy, but use it for our best good. So here's the influence. We have the astrology that's really spotlight on the lower mind. I mean, there's a whole lot of Gemini, a whole lot of Mercury. We've got a new moon in Gemini. But then we've got the Dreambot, and this one's really, really creepy, but it's hidden children is the collective unconscious. And we have the I-Ching with it is all yang. It is super bright with a lot of change lines, but bottom line is the influence is dark to light. Okay, we're going to go talk about the Dreambot first, and then once we get done with that, we're going to nail down each day of astrology for this week. And I already noticed that the date is wrong on those dates. I apologize, but I'm going to keep going. All right. We'll be back to start with the Dreambot next. All right. Now, welcome back to the Dreambot. Let's zoom in. You notice, for those of you who've been here a while, there are no memes this time. I'm just going to read some of these words in here and see what you guys think. I have a linguistic set number 1, which reads, mad flat yesterday, hide security situation. So there's something hidden. And that's why the dark to the light concept starts with the Dreambot. And everything else is pretty much light. It's creative, it's sunshine, it's sun focused, it's mental, it's Mercury focused. So anyway, this is the dark. So let me read the rest of it. We have life. Well, that's not so dark, but paper, enough, interpretation given, divine kid, trying, calm could be obviously .com, but maybe a Comey in there, attention, alone, comments, apartment. There's a lot of living spaces here. So we're getting into that area, apartment, living, hotel, members, shape, minutes, baby, hands, dream, and community. So putting all that together, there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of places to live, and then there's mad, and then security and situation and hiding. So you put all that together, I'm thinking the world number one word with the surge score of 36.9 is mad. People are going to be angry when they find out about all these kids being hidden down in these lower communities, these living situations, and they're alone. Alone and trying and anyway, am I right here? Is it anger towards the condition of our hidden children and their condition down in these living conditions? I don't have to be right, but I was trying to do memes and I saw living conditions, kids, and mad and alone and that kind of thing. So anyway, take it or leave it, but there's a very kind of a dark undertone in the collective unconscious. Next, let's talk about the astrology. Here's our overview slide. And guys, there is so much going on in the sky. I'm going to try to knock all these things out, but I'm going to be missing a few things. But the emphasis is on Gemini and Mercury by far. I mean, just down here, let me get the highlighter out. We have Mercury conjunct Venus. Remember, they're going this way. They're going to kind of pass each other. And so that speed happens pretty quickly. It's a very short duration, but that's going to be a very significant energy. Mercury square Neptune is going to pose some problems with the mind. And then the Mercury in conjunct to Pluto, Mercury in conjunct to Jupiter, these sorts of things requiring the mind to adjust. We've got a whole lot of planets in Gemini, and that's the home to Mercury. So there's a lot of thinking involved. And so what I said here is I'm thinking that this is going to be a spotlight on the lower mind. Why lower mind? The lower mind would be the rational mind, the logical mind, the learning, the curious, the mundane but adaptable. That's the lower mind. The higher mind, the deeper mind, that's more Jupiter. Jupiter and Sagittarius, that's the deeper philosophies, the PhD program instead of just the bachelor degree, the deeper thought, the higher wisdom, that kind of thing. So this one is a spotlight on the lower mind, not the lesser mind, just the different mind and the lower of the two. So we start off on Thursday, and this isn't quite exact yet. Mercury conjunct Venus. So they're over here. They're both in Gemini. They're going in Venus in retrograde, Mercury going forward. And Sun also in Gemini. Sun is nice and fresh in Gemini, and the Sun still has that robust, easy energy down to the triplets over here with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. They're all in retrograde, so we're returning to old laws, old republics, old government. This is Saturn government. You know what else is government? Jupiter. So Jupiter and Saturn together. If Saturn is discipline and the foundation and the way things should be, Jupiter is the law and how it's carried out, and all that's changing. Rewind, relapsing back to old ways. We got the transformation of Pluto. Last time we saw that, Pluto in retrograde through Capricorn was Revolutionary War. So there's a lot of this energy. Now that's easy energy over to the Sun, which is spotlighting in Gemini. And so this arrangement is very, very easy to think about and rationalize why all this is happening. And so that's a beautiful thing. It's easy energy with Gemini, because Gemini is adaptable and curious and can learn fairly quickly. Now, what we have here with Mercury and Venus as they close in right now on Thursday, May 21st, they're within 1 degree. So again, they're going opposite directions. And so that 1 degree closes in very quickly. By Friday with the new moon, they'll be actually conjunct. So what we have is the articulate Gemini, or articulate Mercury, is with the harmonious, beautiful Venus. So we have a beautiful way to articulate. We have beautiful thoughts. We have logical harmony. We have adaptability to how we express to the outside world. Now, unfortunately, we also have these squares over to Neptune, so things are more real, and that's what this is. The Sun trine all these other things. It's a kind of a faceful of reality as well. So, but bottom line is, with all this happening here, that's part of the creative. Remember that, because that's going to be going into the I-Ching. The creative is, in the I-Ching, in the world of I-Ching, is Sun. It is Yang. It's all Yang. Hexagram number 1. And the Sun is in Gemini. And the Sun is about ready to meet up with the Moon. And for a new moon, let's get into Friday. This is the new moon. Now this one's, numerology is pretty interesting, because it's Friday the 22nd, May, so 5 to 22, and then 2020. Well, on the new moon, which is right here in 2 degrees 5 minutes of Gemini, you have it kind of backwards. 5 minutes. 2 represented by the Gemini archetype symbol, and then 2 degrees. So it's like backwards. 5 to 22, 5, 22. Interesting, isn't it? That's the new moon. It's a new cycle in Gemini. So we have a new cycle of mind, Gemini, new cycle of learning. How about that one? And at the same time, this is maximum conjunction. It goes exact, which is Mercury and Venus. So that beautiful logic, that articulate beauty is, and harmonizing with the mind, is commensurate with the new moon. So maybe for the moment we have a little bit less anxiety. That's the one thing that I didn't mention earlier, was when you've got all this pressure on Mercury, remember all those ones I talked about earlier, such as this inconjunct down here to Pluto being the destroyer. Well, this death and rebirth cycle of Pluto is going to force the mind to have to adjust. So whenever the mind has to adjust and assimilate, there's a certain amount of stress there. There's anxiety there. So this whole week is probably going to be more anxiety. Now, there's a lot of good in this week. Most people would think that anxiety is bad, but a little bit of anxiety is actually good. It's good for performance. So this is a time to really get creative and push forth, even though you have these adjustments in the mind that you have to do. But we'll get to the solution later. Hold on. Hold your horses. On Saturday, getting into the weekend, this is the mega Gemini influence. Look at that. Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, and the North Node. That's something that I haven't mentioned yet, was that the North Node is now in Gemini. South Node is transitioned into Sagittarius. So we got a whole different context between, used to be in Capricorn and goal-oriented from the past, maybe taking past karmic goals and doing those in this life, or that sensation anyway. And then the North Node used to be in Cancer. Now the way ahead, the life purpose, the way forward is more mental, is more logic, it's more Gemini, it's more adaptable. Okay. So at the same time this is happening, we have more squares developing over to Neptune. We have Sun losing its trine energy pretty much over that weekend. And so that's the Sun, the ego, is going to be off on its own now, but still with that square over to Mars. And the square over to Mars is this. Well, first of all, this Mars here in Pisces is the idealistic fighter, the warrior, the warrior who's might be self-defeating, if you will, or self-sacrificing, which be a Pisces. And Pisces is also very spiritual. So there might be a spiritual war happening with that energy, and it's idealistic. So we have Mars is idealistic and spiritual, again, going against and developing some square objective, whatever word I was looking for. It's been a long day. Over to Sun in Gemini, and trying to be adaptable and logical, but you've got that conflict, that pressure to constantly be adapting your thoughts to these, I don't know, the energy of this underlying spiritual battle, if you will. Going into Sunday, you have Mars sextile Uranus. We had this on the previous days, but I'm just now talking about it. This is change. This is an opportunity. So now, instead of like fighting for something ideal or spiritual, we really have a chance to change that up. That's changes by Uranus in Taurus. And so it's going to be a change in something materialistic, a change in a resource, a change in how you're going to get money. This is an opportunity for you to take your spiritual idealism and fight for something new in your material underpinnings, or your material life, the way that you gain money or the things that you value. Okay. So this is an opportunity here that you should probably hop on. Look at all these inconjuncts here. So we've got the moon basically conjunct with Mercury. So an emotional sort of thoughts, these thoughts that we have really generate a lot of emotions. So those thoughts are going to have to adjust to more transformation that we talked about earlier, more mental adapting to these inconjuncts. There's a lot of them too. So a lot of mental agility, but a lot of anxiety coming from it. Now on this, so Monday, the 25th, we have an emotion complex here, the moon, our emotional response in its own home. So Moon owns or is home to Cancer, and we have that sextile over to Uranus again in the place that you value, your wealth. That's the Taurus, and there's change there. So there's opportunities with this. There's a chance to be nurturing to a new set of ways of living, and then fighting for that as well. And then more in conjuncts. And so let's move on. Tuesday is a day of easy flow between emotions in Cancer. So nurturing and very, very homely inside, protected inside the hard shell. And those have easy energy over to dreamy, mystical Neptune in Pisces. And so this could be a really dreamy day. And especially as we try to balance your emotions around surrounding home with the changing outside world. Everything else is changing and transforming. And so this is a day to really balance that out. It may not feel that good, so your escape is going to be easy. Neptune normally represents escapism, so you'll be watching for a lot more drug addiction, escaping into drugs or any one of your addictive sort of escapes. That's something definitely to watch out for on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the 27th, Venus square Mars. This one is one of the most passionate alignments that you see in any natal chart. And you can see how far away Venus got from Mercury. It's like 9 or 11 degrees away from each other, so they are moving opposite directions. But Venus now entering a square over to Mars. Mars being just conflicted, and that's not a good thing for Mars. It makes him really want to fight even more and have that fight kind of energy. But this in particular can be a very passionate, very creative force. This is a creative passion because Venus having to put on this beautiful mask out here, or creativity, is met with a lot of fighting and struggle. And it's not like you're being satisfied with that because of the square. So there's more anxiety about how you're perceived and how you want to be perceived and that sort of thing, trying to match both of those up. But there's a lot of passion. That's the key. A lot of pressure to be passionate. And for what? Well, mainly for probably logical things that seem logical at the time. I'm thinking, Gemini and adaptable. And so expect that creative passion. The hint here is creative. All right. And this is a nice segue into the I-Ching reading. This is amazing. This is simply the most amazing experience of tossing these I-Ching coins, because when we had 6 yang lines. That is hexagram number 1. That is all yang, 100% yang. And in astrology, that's the sun. That is the creative power. Sun creates out of nothing. And I even threw, this is even more incredible. I threw the coins one more time to determine what the strength of this energy was. Remember, this is the influence of the sun, and its maximum strength, 9. It got another 9. So we have, most of these are 7s and 9s. And here's what else is interesting that you're going to see later. 5 change lines would have changed. If we had one more change, it would have gone from completely yang to the solution would be completely yin, because you change each one of these lines to the opposite. So all these are yang. They would have all changed to yin, but we had one missing change line. So we'll get to that later. That's going to be the solution, but it's heaven over heaven. The air is ripe with imagination, inspiration, and energy. The flying dragon is an ancient symbol of dynamic, arousing force that bodes well for the creative movement. If your goals are in alignment with the greater good, positive actions taken with good timing will meet with success. This is an excellent time to exercise leadership, because you can be strong now, but be forewarned, success turns to failure if strength turns arrogant. Now, I highlighted this in red underlining because this is exactly what the solution is. We didn't even need that other hexagram, but we'll get to that here in a second. It's being towards the greater good. Ooh, so it's a dicey one, because what is the greater good right now? Who's got the edge right now? Who's got the main influence? Anyway, let's move on. Whoever draws this hexagram is assured success if they follow the 6 stages of development, starting with the bottom line. Time itself becomes the means to make real what has only been the potential before this moment. So you can see that the gateway to now starts, and now is all about the rave. That's how I'm showing you how all this comes together, even across influence and solution, but I don't want to be too confusing. I have to read all these change lines, so I'm just going to abbreviate with the underline here. Line 1, there may be creative potential in your situation that you cannot yet perceive. Be confident, your time is coming. Line 3, a sphere of influence is opening up for you now. Let yourself be active, but do not expect an immediate reward. And don't let your energies become scattered. Hold on to your vision and your integrity, and you will make progress in a stable way. Line 4, your creative power is growing. You have a clear choice in this situation. Either lunge forward or draw back. It's natural to feel some anxiety at a time like this. Who's not feeling anxiety? Every one of my clients feeling anxiety. I'm feeling anxiety, making some big possible changes coming up. Line 5, the dragon is soaring. Your power is growing. Be like the leader who is considered to those under his or her influence. And then the very top line, line 6, avoid arrogance. Isolating yourself will only lead to sorrow. Relax and recharge your creative potentials. Whew. All right. So bottom line is the influence is from dark to light, but the only dark here in this whole sequence was the collective unconscious. It's certainly a big influence in our lives, and we need to be cognizant of that. But dark into the light is clear with the astrology and the I-Ching. So it's time now for the solution. We'll be back right in a second. Hold on. You want to know what that solution is. All right. Thank you. And then down below at the screen, you see both Intervention, our sponsor, and National Dream Center have all those links for you. So if you want a reading of any kind, I highly recommend you get a hold of me on intervention.com. Get a human design. We talk about the rave mandala every time here. It would be nice to know what your rave mandala says. And then the astrology, get a reading for a projected chart or for your natal chart. All right, let's talk about the solution. First, we're going to cover the I-Ching, because when we made our change lines, remember we had one remaining yang line. That's hexagram 7, earth over water. It's organized discipline for all you QAnons. This is for us. Okay, I'm gonna show you what this is. The most successful leader is not the one who triumphs on the battlefield, but the one who is able, through strength of discipline and inner power, to achieve consolation without spilling blood. So we're pushing forth. We're being leaders. We're being disciplined, but we're not using violence. Likewise, in any large organization, key virtues are discipline and conscientiousness. The most effective team marches with a single purpose, a dedication to a lofty goal that is held clear by all. Even with an excess of external discipline, unpopular wars are seldom winnable. Let power be held in check by the willing acceptance of a common discipline and the submission to a higher authority for the common good. Don't you just hate this? Do you hate this ring because we've always been forced into the collective good? Well, right now, this is the solution. And there is a time to conform to a common good. I'm not a collectivist. I'm not an individualist. I think it depends on the time. I think the time is now to have that higher discipline to a common goal. And we all know what that goal is. So free humanity. So we have to do it together. We can't do it separate, right? We have to cooperate for that common vision. For this balance to be preserved, government must be steady and benevolent towards its own people. When balancing strong complementary forces like this, modesty and generosity in the leadership can be the magnetic force that keeps the relationships intact. Solidarity is essential for success. Where we go one, we go all. Now let's look at the Sidereal Astrology. So we had to tilt it to make it correct. And across the outer zodiac, this is where the sidereal is, and this is where our solution is. In the middle is the rave mandala, and so we want to look at that too. Remember what the influence was? It was the sun. It was the creative power. So we put this in the new moon that starts that's a really big time, a new cycle of mind and Gemini and adapting. That's the influence. We know the influence is right here. So we project that out into hexagram 20. Keep that in the back of your mind. And we have Taurus. So let's go explore those two areas. First, the rave. It's the gate of now. Final stage in this process of expressing the intuition. Intuition is the key. I am now. When the intuition is defined to the throat, then the voice says, I know I am now. And then finally, when you have all of this manifested together, the final potential of intuition is, I know what I am struggling for in the now. Basically, what this is saying is that your maximum intuition, which is coming from an influence of Gemini, is going to be coming from the now. You can't be off thinking about things, thinking of the past, projecting into the future, and get the intuition. You have to be in the now to have that maximum awareness. All right. And then lastly, here's her favorite slide. I'm going to zoom in, and there's the influence on the top half of this. I hid the date. I did not update that date. I'm sorry. So the influence is a big old sun, and it's hot, and and the collective seems to be a little bit dark right now, but the influence is overall, it's light. It's from dark to light, folks, and it's exactly what the QAnon movement is all about. So now let's scroll down and look at the best solution. So we've triangulated. We have the I-Ching that says organized discipline. This is where we go one, we go all. This is the QAnon circle, that blue circle. The rave mandala says I am now. So we've got that here. And then the sidereal is Taurus. So we want to pull from strong will, that matches, deliberate, reliable, practical, with integrity, that even talked about with the organized discipline. But we want to avoid laziness this week. We want to avoid being jealous, avoid being sorry. Basically, we want to avoid the worst of Taurus. But we want to use the strengths of Taurus in this centerpiece. This overlap is where the overall triangulation for the solution is. And that is hardworking, committed, disciplined towards common good, leaders benevolent to followers, followers generous towards leadership, balance in the collective, discipline to harmony, remain in the now. All of that happens in the now. Your hard working happens in the now. The intuition, no, your morals happen in the moment, in the now. And all that balance and generosity has to be in the now. But we can't just be lazy and let people walk all over us either. We have to get together. We have to get together. I should be pointing over here, organized discipline. And we have to be strong-willed. We have Mars on our side, deliberate. We need to be reliable, practical, and with integrity. All right, with that, I am going to see if I can get to the final slide for you. And sure enough, there's something wrong with my computer, but I can go all the way back up here, and we'll end with this so you can come back and revisit these alignments for yourself. It's generally it's Mercury, it's lower mind. Remember, there's going to be some anxiety there, but along with that influence of it's brightening, things are brightening. We're moving towards a bright summer, a warmth, and so go do it in organized fashion with a common goal. And let's break through to the other side. Let's all do this together, right? Get a hold of me if you'd like some help with anything, even psychotherapy or some sort of reading. All right, we'll check you guys next week. Thanks.